another guy, Billy, that we wouldn't have necessarily projected as a high pick a year ago, because we had this conversation a number of times setting up the running back situation was that Clyde Edwards-Helaire was, with all these big recruits coming in, was going to be fighting for a job, fighting for carries. His numbers weren't that impressive. And then all of a sudden, with the right offense and with the right complement around him, and especially the passing game opening things up, bam, he hits us for 17 touchdowns and 1,400 yards and 6.5 yards per carry.
Yeah, I mean, he was very much kind of the heartbeat of the offense, and the running game improvement down the stretch really took this group to another level. At the beginning of the year, it was they could throw all over the place, but kind of through the first month or so, we kind of wondered about the running game. But then you saw it all come together, and the Bama game, as great as Joe Burrow was in that game, was really about Clyde Edwards-Helaire and him making just tough yards and breaking tackles. And I do think he projects really well in the NFL, maybe not as an every down, workhorse tailback, but as a complementary guy, a Darren Sproles type who can do all those different things and catch the ball. He blocks really, really well. He's really tough to tackle. He's short. He's really not that small. He's in that 210-pound range, and that's not small by the NFL standards.
Talking LSU football NFL draft coming up here in just about a week, April 23rd through the 25th. Going to be a much different looking and sounding NFL draft from the way it operates. But we're talking the actual picks, and it still works the same. Players coming off the board, going to NFL teams, trying to make it big someday. Justin Jefferson, talk about eye-popping numbers, 111 catches, 1,500 yards, 18 touchdowns. Derek Dillon, probably going to be a free agent, probably not drafted. So there's your two wideouts. But again, Justin Jefferson had just that amazing season that they all fed off of each other in regards to not just the results on the field and the performance and production, but now in the NFL draft, obviously he's going to benefit highly from having that quarterback and that offense that highlighted him last season. Yes, absolutely. The one thing I think we saw with Jefferson was he had such a number one, kind of alpha dog mentality to how he played. He was always a really good smooth route runner. His hands were a little iffy, but he kind of just did everything well, and he took that to such a great level this year where there was, again, whatever you needed him to do, he could do, whether it was going over the middle and making a tough catch, posting up a corner on a jump ball, just taking off and going down the field. He kind of did a little bit of everything. He really reminds me a lot of the New Orleans Saints' Michael Thomas, who just gets in that mode of, kind of does a little bit of everything well and can just get in that mode of just, you can't cover me. And I know you can't cover me, and I'm just going to show you that. There were games where he was dragging guys for extra yardage. Like I said, that he really did beat teams every way a wide receiver can. And I can really see that translating well to him in the NFL. He's just such a good, well-rounded receiver, just with a great, well-rounded game. Thaddeus Moss really showed himself down the stretch to be a really good player. In particular, made some big plays in some big games. Yeah, really came along. Was kind of thought that he would be the second tight end and more the pass receiver, but he was a really good blocker. He really developed in that way. And he's a little short by the NFL standards, only at about 6'2". Kind of reminds me a lot of David Thomas, who, of course, was a star at Texas and then played in the NFL for the Patriots and the Saints, and was kind of an H-back, sometimes a fullback, kind of a second tight end type. I could see Thad Moss having a really nice career doing that kind of thing. He runs well, catches the ball really well. And like I said, just a really, really great blocker, really allowed LSU to kind of stay with same personnel in a lot of sets. And that allowed them to then work their tempo and just made them so hard to defend, because they could line up with Clyde and with Moss and move them around in different places, whether it was as receivers or, in the backfield as a runner and a lead blocker, and beat defenses whichever way it worked.